What's going on, guys? It's Wednesday, about 10:15. We're heading into week 11. We have a huge show today. We have a guest, Rico from Bills Fanatics. We have Vincenzo here reporting from Lockport, New York. So we're going to have some fun here. We're going to talk a little, it's kind of a scouting report on the Bengals this week, and have obviously some film breakdowns, which we love to do. And that's one thing I'm happy that Rico's on. He can also, partake in that. So we're going to get started. John, how you doing today, man? I know you just got out of work. Are you ready to roll?
Whew. Let's do it. I'm ready, man. Let's do this. It's been a while.
Rico, first time on, man. I'm sure it won't be the last. Welcome onto the show.
Yeah, man. Listen, man, I appreciate it, man. I love what you're doing, man. So keep it up, and I'm glad to be part of it.
All right. How long you been with the Fanatics, Rico?
Man, I joined the Fanatics, 3.5 years ago when it was only 500 members. And honestly, to be honest with you, the way I joined it was I was like, am I the only Bills fan that I know around where I live? Like, I need a family. So I started looking on Facebook, and I found the Bills Fanatics, and I just jumped in, and I started kind of just chiming in, and there it is, man. And it grows like 20,000 members, almost 21,000 members.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, you guys do a great job of covering all angles of the Bills, and you're one of those groups and sites that is unbiased. You'll tell the truth, whether it's good or bad, and that's why I was glad to hook up with you guys and partner up with you guys from the get-go. Where are you calling from, Rico?
I'm calling from Ottawa, Canada, man.
All right.
That's what we rep it, man. Yo, we rep it everywhere, man. We got to do it.
Internationally. I love it.
Yes, sir. Listen, man. Eric Turner's not too far from me. I might as well call him a Canadian as well.
Yeah, I might as well. I do. I live in Southern Canada, basically.
Listen, I'm not too far from Canada either. Let's not get it twisted, right? I'm right here, too.
You in Buffalo, man.
All right, so let's jump right in, guys, because this is going to be a fun show. We're going to start off with the defensive scouting report and kind of go over what Cincinnati does well and whatnot. And let me bring up the PowerPoint here and kind of show people what we're dealing with, because, they are 3-5-1 right now, but that really doesn't tell the whole story on them. I do think, and I think you guys will agree, that we do match up pretty well with them. But when it comes down to their offense, it's very vertically based. They like to throw the ball down the field. They average right now 265 yards a game. That puts them at 10th in the league on offense in passing yards. But they're balanced. They rush the ball well, too. They have two good running backs in Jeremy Hill and obviously Giovani Bernard. And they average about 115 on the ground as well, which is 10th. So they're a very balanced team. And it's going to be tough to defend them, especially with the issues we have this season and in the last few weeks especially. Offensively, though, John, what worries you the most about this team? Because you can see the numbers on the screen. They're really, really good, and they're putting up good numbers, especially Andy Dalton. If you look at his completion percentage, man, that's 65%, man. That's amazing.
That's real good. Anything over 65% is where you want to be as a quarterback. For them, it's just the downfield passing.
Right.
They like to take their shots. They like to take them often. They're not afraid to throw it. Obviously, A.J. Green, he's a stud. He's a superstar. So he's always on my mind. And then, the seams like Tyler Eifert and some of those guys slipping on the backfield like Giovani Bernard worries me a little bit as well.
Right. And Rico, when you look at these statistics, I don't know if you can see them on your screen, but when you look at these statistics, what you can see, they have weapons. And obviously, John mentioned A.J. Green as being the number one threat you got to stop, and Eifert as well. Between Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard, what guy would you focus your defensive game plan to stop, whether it be in the run game or the pass game?
Now, the thing is with the Bills, man, we typically know that we want to stop the run. We want to put pressure. So to me, big backs, anytime that we face big backs, minus Ajayi, we've been successful. Take a look at what we did with the running back from the Patriots and LeGarrette Blount. We shut him down completely. So to me, what's going to scare me is little Giovani Bernard, man.
Right.
We got to contain him. You have him in space, he's like a Darren Sproles. You cannot just bring him down like a little guy, man. You're going to have to wrap up and tackle. Another thing that we've got to really focus on is do not let Tyler Eifert stretch the field. We let him stretch the field, we're going to be in a world of trouble.
Definitely. John, I'm sure you echoed those sentiments. Between Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard, which guy are you focusing in on this week?
Yeah, we touched on it earlier. I think our front seven can stop Jimmy Hill and kind of contain him. It's Giovani and most specifically in the passing game with him.
Mm-hmm.
Slip screens, any type of wheel routes, anytime check downs, things like that to him, that's where we could get burned. And I think he did it to us before. So we have to be cognizant of Bernard, where he's at on the field at all times. And typically if he's on the field, Eric, and you might be able to touch on these numbers, but if he's on the field, they're going to him.
Yeah, you're right. And, to me, I'm going to say I agree with you guys because Gio Bernard is dangerous, whether it be from the backfield, catching the ball out of the backfield, running it. He is slippery. He's got great hands. He has 193 pass snaps in a route this year. So he's targeted 41 times. He's got almost 300 yards, and he's got the fourth most yards per route run. So for a running back, and that's really kind of shows you how effective he is when he does catch the ball. Last year versus us, he had 8 carries for 50 yards and 1 touchdown. He caught, I think, 2 or 3 balls, was nothing big. I think maybe 20 yards, something like that. So he did convert a couple first downs. That is something we do have to worry about. But I'm going to, across the board, we all agree, Gio Bernard, when it comes to the run game, I think is going to be the weapon, and the pass game for that matter. But as Rico and I discussed before we went live here, if the Bengals do get up, and they are going to obviously insert Jeremy Hill more, and then they can start pounding with that big back. And as we saw with Jay Ajayi, if that defense is tired and they're on the field a lot, Jeremy Hill can break tackles. I mean, John, are you able to see those stats on Jeremy Hill there? It's a big thing with him. Yards after contact, man, 561 yards after contact. That's really, really well this year,
Now, let me throw a wrinkle in there, my man.
That's huge.
The one thing that we don't want to bypass, and I remember watching the Bengals game from last year, Andy Dalton is not a slouch. He's not your typical stand in the pocket quarterback. If he needs to take off, he will take off, and he will run for 5, 10, 15 yards. So we've got to be able to respect his athletic ability and not just focus on Jeremy Hill and Giovani Bernard. We've got to respect Andy Dalton taking out and running out of the backfield and gaining yards and killing us on third downs. We can't have that.
You're right, because they do still have that wrinkle of even zone reads. They'll motion. They do like a thing where they motion all their linemen out wide, and then they'll see if you're matching the numbers of it. And if you're not, they'll throw a screen or they'll throw it down the seam. So they do challenge you in that way, and they do run zone read off of that. So it is definitely something in his game that we do have to be aware of, especially, 3rd and 2, 3rd and short. But our defense is good when it comes to third down runs and stopping them. So there's always that. But Andy Dalton, he's had a great year so far. Currently has a 93.13 QB rating. And the thing with him is, and this is something that he's progressed and gotten better at, is getting rid of the ball quickly. He's got the 8th quickest time to snap with 2.39 seconds. So it's something that, could work in our favor, Rico. Wouldn't you agree?
It could work in our favor, but I mean, let's keep it real. Let's keep it 100. The Rex defense is predicated on creating pressure and locking down receivers and making the quarterback hold on to the ball. What offensive coordinators have been able to do, knowing that is our premise, getting rid of the ball quickly. So that 2.39 seconds, if he continues to keep that up, that's going to give us some problems, especially what we've been doing in the secondary right now. We've been not so great.
Right. And John, they've been sacked 28 times. That's the second most in the league. So Rico, to Rico's point, if we can get him to hold the ball, which is it's a thing that we deal with every week, because that's what his defense is based on, disguising and having that quarterback hold that ball longer. Do you like our chances with our, without blitzing? Do you think we have a chance to get to Andy Dalton?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have the horses, with Jerry Hughes, Lorenzo, and company. So we certainly have the horses, and that's without blitzing.
Right.
I'd like to see us do a little bit more with our front four as far as creating pressure this week. I understand. I mean, he gets rid of the ball quick, but we're used to quarterbacks like that. I mean, Tom Brady's in our division. Mm-hmm. So that's something we're very used to. So we just have to make sure, like, if he likes to get rid of the ball quick, we have to press these receivers, I feel like. Especially if we get we can get the pass rush because
Right.
I know I've been seeing Jerry Hughes drop a little bit more in coverage, which I get it because he's that athletic, but I'd rather see him in the box around the line of scrimmage rushing the passer. And if we can get him doing that more, then we have a chance of combating that quick release time with Andy Dalton.
Right.
And if we follow that under pressure of 31.6%, this is an ideal game for Rex to come in after bye, reassert himself as the coach that brings the pain, brings the pressure, and makes Andy Dalton under duress all game.
Right. And I think the recipe is there, whether we blitz or not. I mean, you can see they have the fourth highest yards per attempt at 8.05. So Dalton likes to push the ball downfield. They're a vertically based team. They have guys that can run down the seams. They have guys that can run on the outside. So, yeah, if we can get pressure when they do make those calls, I think it'll only boost our sacks and pressures that we're, right now we're the number one team in sacks, I think with 30. So
we're actually what, number 2 or are we number 1?
Number 2 now? I thought we were number 1 going in from last weekend, but it could have changed with the week. So,
yep.
So and the thing is, again, they're a vertically based team. They like to throw the ball deep. They have the third highest deep pass percentage. So that means on 13.9% of their passes, they're throwing it over 20 yards. So this is where it gets dangerous with our secondary. John, go ahead.
I mean, you don't think they're licking their chops right now, Cincinnati, with what's been going on with specifically our defensive backfield on the deep balls, on the shots downfield. I mean, go back to the Jets game. We can go – there's a few games that we can touch on specifically, but as of late, our defensive backfield is in – I don't want to say shambles, but it's just some work to be done back there. Some people need to step up. And they've been in position to make plays, Eric, but they're not making them. So this is a week where they have to make a play on the ball down the field. Right. If not, we're going to get torched all game, and we might lose by 20 if we can't play on the ball down the field.
Can you get the camera on me real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
You see what I'm doing right now? I just took a sip of water. Because that's what Darby's going to be doing a lot of this game if he continues to get beat downfield, sipping water on the bench.
Ouch.
And giving water to the guys right now. Because right now, I'm not my feelings are coming out right now because right now I'm not happy with the 2 DBs that we have right now. And they need to reassert themselves as the cover corners that we brought them in to be.
You're right. And we're going to show video of that because that's going to be the topic of the night, honestly. And they have their work cut out for them because, okay, again, Cincinnati's a deep passing team. And, they have the guy, A.J. Green. He's pretty nasty. I mean,
he's pretty good.
There's no one on our team that can cover him. He's 6'4", 211 pounds. And the thing that Rico and I talked about before going live is, he's got it all. He's a complete receiver. Look at his arm length, 34 3/8. I mean, that's absurd, for a receiver.
Eric, you know me. I'm a huge Georgia Bulldogs fan. Right. So I've been watching this guy for years. And what makes him so special, there's a lot of guys 6'4", 200 pounds, right? But the way he can control his body and go up and get the ball and snatch it, I mean, it's really second to none in the league right now. He's one of the top receivers in the league that can do that kind of that can work like that. So he can beat you when you're double covering him, when you're triple covering him. He's that guy. So you have to make a play on the ball when it's at the catch point because if not, he's going to shred you.
There's no doubt about it. He's already got 94 targets, which is 4th overall, 66 receptions, which is 3rd overall, almost 1,000 yards, sitting at 964 right now, which is 2nd overall, and 4 touchdowns. So, and like we talked about Rico before going live, he's a guy, of course, that can do it all. He's got the catch radius. He's got the speed. We're going to show some film on him running his routes and whatnot here in a second. But Dalton likes to target him deep. He's got 20 deep targets, and he's caught 50% of those, which is number 1 in the league, 379 yards. So I was kind of surprised, though, Rico. I mean, I'm not sure if you got a chance to look back at the film from last year. He didn't really do much versus us.
He didn't, and I think a lot of that is on scheme. And I don't think they had a full roster going forward with what they had going against us. But this year, I feel that Andy Dalton has a lot to prove, along with AJ Green. So they're going to do everything they can to keep their hopes alive, because right now they're 3-5-1, 3-4-1, 3-5-1.
Right.
Although some may look at them as being a long shot to even make the playoffs in the AFC North, but they're still mathematically in it, because nobody is really running away with anything in the AFC. So they're going to put the pedal to the metal against the Bills, and they're going to try to. And this is where Darby comes in, and he needs to show us what he learned from the criticism he's been getting from Rex, as well as Mr. Pay Me $14 million a year, Mr. Gilmore, what he's got.
Right. No, I agree, man. And, I'm going to bring up some film here of Green. Let me all right, so they use him in many different ways, which they should. They obviously target him a heck of a lot. And right here, he's in a slot. They just run a nice quick screen and from a 3-by-1 formation, ball's on the right hash. This was 3rd down and 10, and it looks like he gets the first down. He's so after the catch, like you said, he's a complete receiver. He can go deep. He can take these quick screens on 3rd down and 10, and get the first down versus a tough Redskins defense. It's going to be a tough matchup this week. And Rico, we talked about it with his length and whatnot. And what we love about him on this play is he's good versus press, and it's something that I know John and Rico, you'll echo this. We want to see our corners press more, because that's what they're good at. That's what they're known for, right?
Absolutely.
So Rico, at the bottom of the screen, you see AJ Green here, and he try to get press, and kind of describe what happens here as the DB. Go ahead.
So as you can see, I think it's we've got what's his name from the Panthers? I think that's him covering on the bottom.
Norman.
Yeah, we got Josh Norman on him. Right this. Watch this. Watch the hand slap. Hand slap right away. Get off me. The minute you engage in the receiver and you lock him down, he's over. Guess what? No way. 34-inch arms. You're getting off of me. I'm releasing. Right there, I've already created space. So now I can do whatever I want with you. So now I do a little back route.
Right.
That's completion. We're good to go.
Right, and I'm not sure. I don't think that's Norman. I think it might have been Breland. But either way, you're right. He's so good with his hands. He knows that teams want to press him and almost treat him like the way the Patriots treated Marvin Harrison, because they kind of treat him like a finesse player. They want to be physical with him at the line of scrimmage, and he just swats that away. And it's pretty good technique by the DB. He gets in the hip pocket. He's still in a good trail technique, but again,
absolutely.
He rotates off that right plant foot and just back to the sideline, and it's too easy. And look, he gets right to the ground with his knees. There's no way he's not going to catch that. It's beautiful.
One of the things that as a receiver, if you've ever played receiver, one of the things as a receiver is you want to do DB is when you can do what you want to a DB, he's at your will. It becomes so easy. The fact that he was able to slap arm, release quickly, the receiver's he's already in position to do what he wants with the DB. So that's the special ability that AJ Green brings to the table.
Let's keep in mind too, though, that the coverage wasn't horrible. Let's be honest about that. And the ball came out on time and in anticipation. So that's the chemistry between Dalton and Green. Before he even made that break, the ball's already in route. So, you got to give kudos to Dalton on that too, because if you look, that coverage isn't that bad, really.
No.
But the ball's where it needs to be on time, and there's chemistry there. Look at that. It really, that's nice.
No, the corner was definitely in phase still. He wasn't out of phase, and it was a really – but still, again, they've been together since they both came into the league. So that does play into – that rapport does play into it, and that's something we've talked about, John and I, before, about the rapport between the quarterback and the receiver. But what makes him also a complete receiver, obviously he can beat you with his speed. He can beat you, across the middle. He can beat you with screens. He can also beat you. The way he does it, though, is with pace. And for people that don't realize this, receivers are taught to run routes at a different pace. Rico, names a couple of receivers off the top of your head who run really good routes with pace.
Listen, Odell Beckham is the number one receiver that comes to my mind right away. And you even have Antonio Brown.
Right.
He's
number one right now, I would say.
Yes.
These guys are fantastic at creating space and giving you the illusion. You don't know what route they're going to run based on the pace that they're giving you. So as a DB, you're wondering, is he going deep? Is he doing a screen? Is he doing a quick slant? You don't know. So
when
you have a receiver that is 6'4", 211 pounds that can do that to you,
Right.
watch out.
And when we talk about pace, what we mean is he runs the pace at a different route. You see right off the release, he's not running full speed like most receivers, inexperienced receivers. He's not running full speed versus Josh Norman. He kind of, runs at 50% and then turns the jets on. And again, it's pretty good coverage by Norman. He's got a good job of, in the bail technique and stays over the top. And now he's just playing man for man with A.J. Green. Really good throw by Dalton here. I think there was, pass interference called here or something or holding.
Yeah, pulled yank on the jersey there.
Yeah.
You know what? This just came to me just now. One of the best receivers at giving you the illusion and pacing is Ocho Cinco. This guy, a route running machine, and he could stem you at full speed. He can stem you at half speed, and you still won't know what he's doing. So it's funny because he played for Cincinnati, and maybe he talked a little something to Mr. Green over here.
Right. This was a good play, and that's what makes receivers, dominant and elite, because they can bring so many different things to just running around and getting open. You got to get in the NFL. You got to get open several different ways. You got to help your quarterback by not just route running, but changing the speed of your route or changing the stem a little bit. Things like that. AJ Green is definitely. It's definitely gonna be a tough. I think this year versus last year, I think they will target him more because last year they targeted what's the guy that went to Detroit? Marvin Jones more.
Marvin Jones. Yeah,
right.
Marvin Jones.
So yeah, I think this year they're gonna go more towards Eifert and Green, who they weren't that effective with him last year. I think they just targeted Marvin Jones more.
They had Sanu last year too, who was a big factor in their offense.
Mohamed Sanu.
Yeah, so he's a piece that they don't have, which I think could help us, obviously. But I mean, for Green, he's got the softest hands in the league. I mean, you saw that last play where he's covered, he's actually interfered with, and he still comes down with the ball 40 yards downfield.
Right.
So he's almost uncoverable, to be honest with you. You just got to hope that you can get enough pressure and the ball's, not in sync or not on time to try to – you're going to have to put someone over top of him too, especially with our DBs the way they're playing.
Definitely.
You just got to hope that we can get to the quarterback enough to where they can't get the ball to him as frequently as they'd like to.
Absolutely. I mean, last week alone playing against the Giants, I think Janoris Jenkins is already claiming to be the A.J. Green killer because A.J. only had 4 receptions for 23 yards, I think.
Right, he was aggressive with him, yeah.
Oh, was he ever? So if we're taking any pages out of anybody's book, take a look at what they did to him in the Giants game.
Right.
We've got to get physical. Guys like A.J. Green that are 6'4", 200 pounds, yes, he's more of a lanky and not a physical presence like Brandon Marshall.
Right.
You get hands on a receiver like that, it screws up their flow.
Right.
Receivers they like to be in rhythm. You screw up a receiver's rhythm, you're in his head. You're already on top of the game. So I feel that's what we need to do if we're going to be successful in this game in any way, shape, or form.
Right, and we're going to talk about how we should defend them later in keys to the game. But, John, you touched upon it. Yeah, I do think this is one of those weeks where we're going to have a lot of cover 2 looks with safeties over the top. So to kind of segue to the next area, because, again, they're going to attack down the field. They're going to go vertical. They're going to try to get the A.J. Green and Eifert down the field. And with the issues we've had on defense, in our secondary especially, it needs to be addressed soon because Rex came out this week and said he opened competition with the safeties. They signed a safety, a Hedebo, and now Darby's in an open competition with Corey White. And so I wanted to bring up some film because I wanted to discuss Darby because we all 3 of us like this guy, right? As a future cornerback, as a starter for many years to come, right?
For sure, man.
Definitely.
Okay. So, from the film, and Rico, I know you watched it a little while the last couple hours. He has struggled with his technique, and I think did Rex come out and say that as well this week? That's been his problem, or did he say it was confidence issues?
You know what? I did. To be honest with you, I kind of glimpsed over the interview with Rex. It was more an observation that I made,
right? That
I shared with you a little earlier. But I'll let you play the tape and we can break it down a little bit.
I think it's both, though. Honestly,
it's got to be.
Once your technique starts breaking down, you start losing confidence, and then obviously it spirals out of control from there. But he's better when he's in your hip pocket,
Right.
when he's got his hands on his guy at the line of scrimmage. That's his game,
Right.
And to have him off, I mean, look how far he's off on this.
That's almost 10 yards.
Yeah.
How do you? It's almost impossible to defend
Right.
that, and he still gets downfield on him.
Right. And Rico,
I can't explain it.
I mean, this is something we talked about with Darby and his technique and confidence and whatnot. But, having him in off coverage, it's something that I know it came out into the public, into the media over the summer that he had been working on this. And so that kind of, it's like, all right, I'm gonna save that for a rainy day. Why was he specifically working on that? Because it's one of his weaknesses coming out of college, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And now if you're looking at what he did coming out of college, is one of the biggest knocks on him was that he wasn't able to turn his head around and make a play on the ball.
Right.
So in the NFL, you know what? You can get away with that in college, but in the NFL, you cannot. You want to make yourself one of the better cornerbacks in this game. Your game needs to be able to. You need to be a game changer. You want to flip the field, take the ball away.
Right.
Looking at this play right now, look at Doug Baldwin is no slouch. That man can run a route. Great route runner. But look at this. You're off coverage. Your hips. Look at that. Check this out. You want to run that back just a little bit?
Yep.
Doug Baldwin has not even. He's still breaking the cushion. He hasn't even broken to his route yet,
Right.
and Darby's already flipped his hips. His hips are already flipped, right? So now look at that. His back is to him. You cannot in the NFL play DB in that position. You can't be in that position. And right now you're beat. You're back. I can do whatever I want to you. Right now, if I ran an in route, I'm going for another 10, 15 years if I need to.
Right. And it's funny, John, and let me just interject real quick because, I was looking at, I like to go back and see what were his weaknesses or strengths coming out of college. When I look at film like this to see if he's progressed, you know what I mean? And just listen to this. Here's a couple statements on his weaknesses, all right? Number one, he's susceptible to inside releases with feet stuttering before transitioning to a close distance on a loose receiver. Okay, right there. I mean, if the Seahawks game alone, if you watch it, and these are the clips I'm going to show him, it's the inside release. He struggles with that inside release. That was a double move, but again, a double move to the inside, right?
Right.
He's anxious to stay on top of the route from press and opens door for comebacks. He's been better with that. Let's see what else he has here.
And even as you look up to read that, it's just that this is your second year.
Right.
Second year players, this is where you're supposed to tighten the things that you've gone through in the off season. And right now, it's as if his confidence is so shot that he's scrambled. He's not where he's supposed to be.
Right. And the other thing I wanted to bring up is he struggles with his back to the ball, which that's been the case. We saw it in preseason last year, where teams are attacking him down the field, and it's happening again this year. But I mean, all three of us do agree that he still could rebound from this, right?
Oh, most definitely, man. It's just a matter of regrouping, if you get your technique down, and you have the confidence in yourself, you're able to succeed. And one of the things when I played ball a little back in the day, especially as a DB, whenever you get beat by a receiver, you have the tendency to not play as close because you want to be on top of him, right, so he doesn't make a play on you. So what ends up happening is your mind is thinking, what's he running? What's he doing? I'm already flipping my hips and ready to roll, and you're done. So his confidence is low. He's not trusting his speed. That's the main thing I'm noticing. You are fast enough, my man. You can play coverage, play close, and stay with him because that's your strength. Playing off coverage, you're giving him all the opportunity to make plays on you. Your strength is to play up close, but I don't know if it's a scheme situation or is it a I'm so scared I don't want to get beat situation.
I think it's both, honestly. Because I mean, right here, of course, the scheme, although they do have a too high look, you'll see they do rotate to a single high look, and it looks like they're running a cover 6 over here. So he's on lock right here. They'll lock this to the bottom of the screen and put him man on man. And, see him shaded outside. Okay, fine. You want to funnel it to the guy over the top. Maybe, that's fine. But he gets beat. Like you said, he gets his hips turned again when he shouldn't be, because if he's staring down the midline of the receiver like he should be, these shoulder fakes and jab steps should not get that inside release. And again, he's reverted back to his weaknesses in college. And I know, Rico, you had mentioned that before we went live. And I would totally agree with you, man. And whether that's coaching or, that's just his confidence. I mean, we can't really say. John, which one do you think it is? Do you think it's just a player? Or do you think it's give me a percentage? Do you think it's more coaching or the scheme, or do you think it's just the players aren't executing?
I mean, it's a sophomore year, right? So there's tape on him now, right. So teams have been able to game plan around him now. They know what his strengths, what his weaknesses are, and they're exploiting them. Mm-hmm. Like if you go back to the one play, you don't have to necessarily go back to it, but the receiver, he had the 10-yard cushion. The receiver was basically running an option, right? He was playing off of Darby. Darby went outside. What'd he do? He went inside and took it deep. So he's showing his hand too quick, and then receivers are taking advantage of it. So he needs to just he's like you said, he needs to stay focused at the line of scrimmage, not let those shoulder shrugs, shakes at the line of scrimmage take him off his game. Like Rico said, his speed is second to none. He should have no problem with his recovery speed if he does get beat at the line of scrimmage. But again, he's never been one to make a play on the ball as far as go up and snatch a ball out of the air. That's never been his game. As Gilmore, that's not his game either.
Right.
And that's kind of upsetting because, I'll take a guy that comes to mind that, may not be the fastest guy, but he just worked with his savviness, is a guy like Ty Law, right? Mm-hmm. He could play off and he could get beat or what have you, but he made up for it with his intelligence and his ball skills.
Right.
And he made so many plays. And I'll take a guy that runs a 4.5 over a guy that runs a 4.3. If he's going to snag me a couple of receptions every once in a while when it counts.
Right.
And I'm not seeing that from either one of these guys. So to put a percentage on, who's to blame for Darby's regression, I think the coaching staff is putting a lot on his plate, and the safeties haven't been helping him out either over top.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. I can't really say for sure one or the other, but I think both gets a little bit of blame on his regression.
Now, here's where I'm coming with this. I'm a little harsher. I'm a little harder on my players, and I've had this conversation with a friend of mine. He's a Dolphins fan.
Okay.
We talk about this all the time, and just the other day we were talking about this. And here's my beef. You have your safeties, you have your linebackers. Okay. Those are the guys that are in the huddle. They've got more on their mind, more things to check. Are my defensive linemen where they're supposed to be? What's the personnel? 2 linebackers. Is it a spread defense? Is it a spread offense? 21 personnel. The safety's got to be in there, making checks, making adjustments. Right. The corners are never in the huddle. Do you know why? Because their job is to cover. Right. That is it. You know what? The linebacker looks over, or the safety looks over, gives them a signal, tap on the head. Maybe it's cover 1 or chest, or one of these. It's lock. It's cover 0.
Yeah.
You know what you're supposed to do. It's cover 0. Don't let my man catch the ball. What are you thinking about? It's all meant. I don't want to hear anything else. It's on the coaches. It's on this. It's on you. You're the corner. That's why you guys get paid big bucks. Check this out. You go quarterback, receivers, DBs. Those are the 3 biggest, the most paid players on the damn field.
Right.
Get your act together.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It definitely is. No, that's speaking the truth. But
I agree. I mean,
it's corner is one of those positions where you better have confidence, and he hasn't had it. And I don't think Gilmore has either. Honestly, they're so worried about getting beat deep that they're losing sight of what they're good at, which is up at the line of scrimmage, getting their hands on these receivers and mirroring, which is the most important thing. Just mirror what that guy's doing. Open your hips in the same direction that receiver is releasing, and stay with him. It sounds easier, and it's a lot harder, obviously. But for guys with like Gilmore and Darby, they're able to do it. We saw it last year, but I do think that the scheme and what they're asking them to do is a little different this year because, for many reasons. I mentioned it when I studied Gilmore for USA Today this week. We're not blitzing as much, which you would think that it would put more safeties over top. This year, through the first 9 games, we've only blitzed at 24%. All right. Last year was 35% through 9 games. So we're not blitzing as much. Yes. We don't blitz much. So we're using our front
disguises.
Right, and that's what
we're showing blitz, but we're not. Yeah,
it's simulated pressure, so we're not blitzing as much. Only 24% through this year so far. So I mean, that does not help guys like Darby and Gilmore who like to do what? Jump routes. They're squat corners. They want to jump routes. They want to keep everything in front of them and jump those slants, jump those quick outs and comebacks. They're not able to do that this year. Plus, they're getting beat deep. So Dennis Thurman and the staff have to play them off a little more, right? So that they don't get beat deep because of their confidence. So it's all intermingled. So, I mean, that to me, that's what I think why our corners are struggling. There are several reasons. And part of that reason is quarterbacks are holding it a little longer because they're not worried about that pressure.
You know what? That's a good point. And to even jump in on, I thought Rob Ryan was brought in to dial up. I mean, not that he's calling plays, but they brought him as an extra mind to teach the defense. Okay, we're doing now. This is the Rex Ryan defense. Last year was a bit of a mixture of Rex Ryan and Jimmy Schwartz, right? So now, you know what? Bump all Jimmy Schwartz and stuff. This is a Rex Ryan defense. This is a buddy Ryan defense. Let's go. I was expecting to see more blitzing.
They don't have to. They don't have to because they have guys that are succeeding at getting at the passer. You know, the Alexanders, Kyle Williams up the middle. So we have, and now Shaq Lawson getting in the rotation when he gets in. He's been quite effective rushing the passer. So, but it's one of those things. Like that. You can look at it that way, but yeah, we're leading the league in sacks. So you would think like, okay, maybe the offense is going to get rid of it quickly, so they're not taking sacks or whatnot. But guess what? If we're not blitzing a lot, you're not sending that extra man. They can dial up protections to stop for wherever you're bringing them from. So I think that does play hand in hand with the struggles of the corners and the secondary as a whole. But I want to rewind back to what we're talking about now, how well Gilmore and Darby played last year, because the things that we had just mentioned about them being able to jump routes, whether they're in man or in press coverage, was definitely a nice thing to have last year. And we saw, excuse me, here's I think 2 or 3 plays from the Giants game last year. And Rico, I'll let you take control of this and kind of explain what happened on this play. Let me get this out of the way. Hold on one second. We have the Giants. They're in, it looks like they're in 11 personnel. They have the ball almost to the left hash. And we're going to have Darby to the top of the screen versus, I believe, is that Beckham? Yeah, that was Beckham on this play, right?
It is Beckham. It's not him on the bottom there.
Right.
So we're looking at he's 8 yards off of the receiver, right? So one thing that I noticed about Darby last year compared to this year is everything's in front of him. He's not getting baited. He's not turning his hips. He's allowing to see. He's reading the hips of the receiver. He's allowing to see what he's going to do. So if you look on this, but this is just a quick slant. And Darby recognizes the route. That's film study, number one, and he's breaking on it, which breaks that pass up. So are we lacking in film study this year that you're not being able to read, that you're so shook? Number two, why did we bring Ed Reed in and let go of Henderson? Ed Reed was supposed to be the film room guru. Well, get your boys in the damn film room and let's go. So in this place, you see here, you break on the ball. That tells me that's a sense of confidence right there. I'm not going to let you run your route that I'm recognizing and I'm breaking on it. Look at that. He's already making the decision. As soon as if you run that back, 3 steps in, Darby's already made a decision to know exactly what's happening. He's broken on the ball right there. He's already planted and ready to drive onto the ball.
So, John, I'm sorry, Rico, let's cut you off.
No, go right ahead.
What do you see right here at the line of scrimmage, though? I kind of just mentioned it. What do you see happen? And you see Duke right near the line of scrimmage. What are they doing?
They're blitzing.
So I mean,
think about it, Eric.
Right?
If you're blitzing 35% of the time last year, what does that mean to the quarterback? He's got less time.
Right.
So now we're blitzing 24% of the time, so they're getting more time to throw the ball downfield, to get those double moves, to get the guys downfield past our corners. So that's something you got to keep in perspective. I mean, we let 7 plays this year of over 50 yards in.
Jeez.
Or over 50 yards.
Right.
That's crazy, so, and not even considering all the other plays over 20, 30, 40 yards, what have you. So I think that has a big, reason why that we're seeing some of the bigger plays downfield is because we're not blitzing and we're leaving our cornerbacks vulnerable, and we're playing them in a scheme that maybe they're not comfortable in.
Right. And Rico, it's a similar play. It is a slant, but this is a tight end. Larry Donnell, I think, up here. So they're trying to use a mismatch versus Darby, which is something we saw a lot of last year, and we saw it this year as well. But this is a play where they actually don't blitz, but it comes to film study, right? Like you said, Rico, what is Darby doing right now? Where's his eyes at right now?
So right now his eyes are looking in the backfield. He's looking at, okay, what am I looking at here? So right now he's recognizing. Look at that. He's still keeping everything in front of him. He's not flipping hips. He's trusting his ability and trusting his speed and breaking on the ball.
Okay, you're right. And I think this comes back to film study too, because, okay, so the ball's on the right hash. They have Donnell, the solo receiver, to the top of the screen, and they have two receivers to the bottom of the screen. They have a split backfield. And so when it comes to reading routes, Darby was pretty good at it coming out of college, and he did really well last year. He kind of struggled this year, but this is what I see. With Darby's eyes in the backfield, he knows the number 2 receiver is usually when you're in zone, you'll see, obviously, your eyes are to the backfield, and the number 2 receiver is the running back here. All right, so watch as this play rolls, where his eyes are. He sees the running back releasing it immediately because there's no tight end to this side. He sees that running back release, right, and he releases at kind of flat, like a flat route. So to me, this is the Patriots. This is the Patriots' number 1 play. This is a slant flat route combination. So that study, that film study, did play an effect here and allowed him to drive on the ball, even though we're not blitzing. His eyes aren't even on the quarterback, so he's not really in zone. He's not reading the drop of the quarterback where he can drive on. He's reading the combination between the running back and this tight end to the top of the screen driving hard on that.
So right now, what he's showing us is he's got range and he's got awareness.
Right.
He's recognizing formation. He's recognizing tendencies, and trusting his abilities. And that's what it comes down to. And he needs to get his swagger back this year. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether there was more comfort in knowing that, okay, we're bringing the blitz. I now can put a little bit of pressure. Maybe because he knows there's no blitz, his sensitivity is heightened. I'm not sure, but something's got to give.
And
again, that's a tight end too,
right?
And so you're not talking AJ Green there, you're talking Larry Donnell. So you got to keep that in perspective too. We're not talking a high caliber type of receiver, so he knows that his athleticism. I'll do this guy's athleticism all day.
Yep, you're on top of that.
And to wrap this play up, what's great, like you said about it being a tight end and a bigger receiver, he goes for the ball. He goes for the ball and then hits the tight end on contact. But I mean, that's what you're talking, that swagger, that confidence. Mm-hmm. He's not worried about getting beat deep here. Of course, he's reading the route combination, but he's also making a play on the ball and actually going for the interception here. So Rico, here's another play, and look at our corners. This is where we need to be, boys. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Not at all.
All right. So top of the screen, this is Ruben Randall versus Darby. And it looks as it's just pure man coverage. It's a 5-man pressure. It looks like they're bringing 5 up front, but Darius is kind of hanging back. No, he does rush. But so walk me through this play. It might be a better angle from up close. Let me see here. It's one of my favorite plays in coverage last year, and it's one I used for his highlight film because he uses perfect technique from right here. So from the start, he's up near the line of scrimmage, and of course, Darby's not big, right? He's not really a press corner. He is a good mirror man corner.
Absolutely.
But he wants to come to the line of scrimmage, right?
He's going to be in your hip pocket.
Right.
Right? All right. Go ahead. I'll let you finish that.
No, I mean, right off the bat, great stance, right? His eyes are on the midline of the receiver. And as you see the receiver kind of give a little stutter step, we see the left stutter step here, the plant to release outside. Darby's mirroring him. This is what he's good at.
Exactly right.
You know, he's following, and he's not wasting any steps. Watch the footwork here.
Yep.
Smooth.
See, and that, to me, you want to be a corner that's going to be around for a while. Mm-hmm. Your technique, your footwork has to be has to mirror or has to allow you to jump on balls, recognize routes, and keep your eye on the prize, which is the play. You flipping your hips already, your neck is your body is soon to follow. So right now you're not even paying attention. You're just on your receiver. The fact that he's keeping everything in front of him, mirroring him. Watch when he hits it, hand on hip, and now he's right beside him. To me, as a quarterback, I'm either throwing that ball away or I'm throwing it enough that my dead DB can't even get the ball, and it's exactly what happened.
That's exactly.
I'm a little bit of a realist when it comes to the football a little bit. And let's be honest, Ruben Randall's, I don't even know if he's in the league still, number one. But number two, he's never been a guy that you would say, oh, he's going to get open on command.
Right.
I mean, that move right there, I mean, I weigh 210 and I'm like 5'5".
Mm-hmm.
But nah, I'm kidding. I'm really like 5. I'm really like 6'3". No, but I can make that cut. So, right. I mean, I want to see him against the high-profile guys making this play. But, I mean, with all due respect to the play, I mean, like you said, there was no wasted motion at the line of scrimmage. He stayed in his back pocket.
Technique, yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of a guy we had on the team before this play, and Jabari Greer.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of his game, at least that play does, because he would just stay right in your back pocket and follow you around the field. And that's really what we need to see him doing, is more plays like that and line them up accordingly. But, again, scheme will dictate where he's lined up. And at this point, they got him lining up. I don't think in the appropriate positions.
Now, hold up. Now, I'm not going to let you hate on Ruben Randall like that and try to discredit what Darby was doing on that play, because Ruben Randall put some numbers up. Don't forget, you're going against a Victor Cruz that was on that team. That's going to get your primary yardage and catches, and then you got your Odell Beckham. So, I mean, respectively, you got 938 yards in 2014, 797 in 2015. Listen, those are numbers to scoff at. So right. Darby you got to give him some credit to Darby a little bit. Although he's not your first tier type of receiver, you got to give him a little credit.
I mean, he's all right. You know, I'm not going to go. I mean, you got to think, Cruz has been out for 2 or 3 years for the most part. Odell Beckham missed half of his rookie season, so a lot of the looks were going towards Ruben's way. I mean, he's all right. He's all right, but I'm not going to sit here and say he's a world beater. But I want to see him do that kind of play against your AJ Greens, your Odell Beckhams. That's 100%. What I need to see.
So actually, Vincenzo, is that what they call you around here, Vincenzo?
They call me all kinds of things, bro. But yeah, whatever you want, man.
So let me ask you a question. If you have your boy AJ Green going out there, who do you want on him? Is it a 100% no questions? It's going to be Gilmore, or are you putting Darby and sprinkling him on?
Man, it's tough. You know, Eric knows my feelings on Gilmore. Right. I mean, I'm almost done with him, to be honest with you. And but I like Darby because he's feisty, and then Gilmore's feisty too for that. But I don't think it matters, to be honest with you, who we put on him. So if I had to pick, though, I would say I'd probably put Darby on him. To be honest with you, I would. I think because his recovery speed is a little better, and I think he makes a few more plays than Gilmore. But I don't know. That's a tough call, man, to be honest with you.
I didn't expect that answer.
That's a tough call, man. I think I'm just such a hater on Gilmore at this point that it'd be tough for me to –
I'm salty. I'm salty on Gilmore, and the lasting play that's burnt into my image is when you get hopped over and you get hurtled by a tight end, and you're looking back. No, that's the lasting image to me. To me, I'm like you. I'm done with Gilmore. Like my feelings, but I'm in my feelings right now. I got to put my feelings away and not be biased and say he's a damn good corner. Because last year he was solid.
He's good, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. But you got to look at his length. Gilmore's 6'1", 6 feet, 6'1",
yeah.
Give or take. So he's our best corner, period. And you've got to put him and lock him down on AJ Green, because what you need is a guy that's going to be physical with an AJ Green. You get in AJ Green's face and get him off his rhythm, because that's exactly what Jenkins did to him. All up in his grill, you can slow him down that way.
If Stephon Gilmore plays the game that he can play, what you're saying is being physical at the line of scrimmage, throwing him off his routes, then yes, I'll take Gilmore with that. If you're going to line up Gilmore 10 yards off him or what have you, then I can't buy that.
No,
I think, Rico, your sentiments right now, your feelings, your emotions with Gilmore is typical for most Bills fans right now with him, because again, he's in a contract year, but play to play, on the field, play to play, he's had pretty good coverage. It's the problem is the contract, the big looming contract of being top 5 paid corner, and the way he's thrown his teammates under a bus. That to Bill's blue collar community, that's not good. We don't want any of that, and that's where I think a lot of Bills fans' emotions are tied to this. But because like if you look at last year in this game, AJ Green he was targeted 5 times. He had 4 receptions for 36 yards, no touchdowns, and Gilmore was matched up 2 times with Green and only allowed 1 reception for 12 yards. And Darby is actually matched up more. He was matched up 3 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was matched up 3 times with the Green, and he allowed all 3 catches for 24 yards, the longest being a 10-yarder. But, again, we got to keep in mind this. Yeah, of course. I'll take those numbers all day. And but we got to keep in mind, typically, Rex Ryan and that staff doesn't have their corners travel with the opposing best receiver. So, it depends on play call. That's when they actually do. But play to play, we're not one to shadow or shadow our corner to the top receiver of the opposing team.
And you know what? You make a good point there. And you know what? Putting my emotions aside, because we get so damn emotional with our players, with our team, and when you see these things happen, the glaring thing about Gilmore, he won't get beat on touchdown passes often. It's just the big plays that he allows. That, to me, as a number 1 corner, you cannot allow that. A play here and there, it's going to happen.
Right.
It's becoming the norm where you give up a 40-yard pass, a 50-yard pass. Like, it becomes inexcusable sometimes.
Right.
What kills me, though, is that he's typically in position, right? Yeah. And he doesn't make a play, though. It's like, okay, you're doing everything you need to do except make the play on the ball. Like, I can't buy that, and it's too bad because, like, he's got all the other pieces except the ball skills and the ball awareness, and unfortunately, that might be the biggest piece you need. Right. He doesn't have it.
No, I
hear you on that.
And just to kind of wrap up the whole corner talk, I'm going to bring up Gilmore's numbers real quick compared to last year through 9 games. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but, I mean, the numbers are the same, all right? So he's got over, 300 snaps already this year, but he's been targeted, only 41 times this year versus 66 last year. But he's allowed, receptions, and he's allowed just as many yards almost as last year through the same amount of time. The big thing with him is that obviously means that they're more vertical. Like you said, Rico, he's giving up the big ball. And he's not giving up that many touchdowns. He's only giving up 1 touchdown. So
that's the crazy part.
Yeah.
We're not giving up a lot of passing touchdowns really as a whole, I don't believe. Right. Anyways.
You're right about that. We're not. And what kills me, and I like Gilmore, and I'd love to bring him back. This is just the unbiased. I'd love to bring him back because I know going somewhere else to grab someone, because measurements are key. Like, to have a 5'9", 5'10", 5'11" corner is great, but you have to have all these other measurements that are amazing. But to find the 6'1" corner that is physical, you need that. And it's hard to find, just like your typical 6'4", 200-pound receiver.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, those are the things that boggle my mind, man. But I mean, we gotta roll with what we got.
Yeah,
right.
You can give me a 6 foot, a $190 corner that runs a 4.3.
Thank you.
Where's he at?
Sign him.
Sign him up.
Right. So, I mean, just to kind of conclude that, like, okay, we need to see more of Darby and Gilmore up near the line of scrimmage. I think that's what it comes down to. Give them safety help over the top. That means playing more cover 2. I'm down with that. Just do that because we don't have a safety that can roam from center field to the sideline or even from the hash to the sideline. We don't have that speed.
No, we don't.
But
we have the linebackers to play cover 2.
We do.
Yeah.
We got speed at the linebacker position, man, and we can cover deep middle.
We have a solid front 7. So it's our defensive secondary that needs to get out. Now, whether we're going to touch based on this or not, Erica, I know you're the moderator here, but let's not sleep on Corey White getting some opportunity because I have some strengths and weaknesses that I have with Corey White.
Well, let's hear it.
Quick, Yeah, I'm just going to mention to you right now. So I'll start off with his positives. He's patient in his awareness and what he sees on the field, and that to me, that's experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's playing against a quarterback that's near going to be in the Hall of Fame and in St. Louis. I was going to say in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So he's seen all the route tree. He's seen the whole route tree, and the fact that the game is slowed down for him. Like I'm watching some game film, actually courtesy of your game film. Actually, I was watching it, and he is patient in his back pedal. He's patient in reading the route. And what I love about him in that we've lacked is he tackles. He's a sure tackler.
Right.
And I love that. Now, here's what I don't like. He's stiff. He's very stiff. Like what keeps him in the game is that he's patient and he's not ready. He's not ready to turn his hips and flip on something right away. But if you do get him turned, it's over. It's gone. You're gone. 4.5 speed at corner, that scares me a little bit too.
Right. And you're right. I mean, off coverage, especially on this play to Baldwin, he actually deterred Russell Wilson from throwing this, but I do think part of the reason Russell didn't throw this speed out was the ball was on the left hash and he's thrown to the right, obviously. But again, I looked at this week with Gilmore. I studied Gilmore this week, Darby a little bit, and Corey White. I do like his technique, and I think that's why Rex is inserting him, not to mention because he's a little bigger than Darby this well, and Rex came out and said that he was worried about the height of the receivers of the Bengals because all of them are 6'2 plus. So I do like his technique, and I think that's what's getting him into the lineup or in this competition for that matter. And like right here, watch his ability to mirror Tyler Lockett, who was doing really well against us and was the key to the big first half for them because they were using him on jet sweeps and everything. But you'll see from the broadcast angle, just his ability near the line of scrimmage. Awesome. You know, I like him near the line of scrimmage again. Look, he's zoned in on the chest of this receiver, and upon the snap, you'll see he just every step, it's not wasted, and he recognizes the route coming. Look at his eyes. His eyes are on the quarterback here. Hand on the receiver, really good technique, and right over the top of that receiver. And as soon as that receiver plants his right foot, guess what Corey White does? He rotates and pivots just with him and takes away, an empty route. That's pretty.
That was a nice flip of the hips right there, right? Man. Like, he flipped those hips real nice. So, yeah, I have to say, yeah, he deserves a shot. And to Rico's point, he does have that ball awareness, though, that I think we're lacking from the other two corners. So that might give us a boost, too.
And that's what I like.
Especially with, the way they like to throw it downfield, Cincinnati. So that's going to be a huge boost for us.
Right, absolutely. And this is a guy cursed. Obviously, he's a burner. He likes to get downfield, and he did that a few times versus us. And just watch. I mean, again, very good tech. Look how calm he is. Look how calm his feet are. Waits for that receiver to commit to his release, and then he just gets in the hip pocket and travels with him down the field. So, I mean, I can see why, Rex inserted him in the lineup. This is one of, I think, the only catch he actually gave up. Off coverage, Baldwin in the slot. So just a quick slant. And, the thing you're talking about, tackling and, his size, and that is going to be big this week on tackling because the receivers are so big. Look at how he attacks the near leg of this receiver. And what does he do? He wraps up on him, and then he just falls to the ground and twists. I mean, that's what you need this week against these big receivers.
I'm telling you, man, this guy is a short tackler. I was watching some college film. He went to Sanford, and he gets in there and he lays the lumber. So in this league, man, especially with the yak yards these receivers are getting nowadays, you need a guy that is able to short tackle. If you can't tackle, bring him down, bring him up, let your guys come in, rip that ball, do something. We can't let plays happen, man, because we've been missing too many tackles on defense.
And this is what we're saying. Like, he's not a Gilmore. He's not a guy that's the strongest, man with his hands up in the press coverage, but he has that ability to mirror and he does a really good job at the top of the screen there of just staying in the pocket. He knows he has help. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in the second half, we shut Seattle down. And can you see why we shut them down? What's over the top right here? 2 safeties, right?
There you go.
That's what we need. He's able to play aggressive. These guys are able to play aggressive at the line of scrimmage because they know they have help over the top. And he does a great job of just staying underneath in the hip pocket, knows he has help over the top, and, Russell Wilson isn't able to throw it to him.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you feel that Rex knows what he has in his players, but he trusts his scheme more than he trusts his players. So he's like, it's my plays, the way I want it run, and that's it. I don't want to hear it. You run it the way I want you to do it. If it asks for you to be off coverage, I want you off coverage.
Right.
Or is he like, what are you guys strong at? I'm going to push you guys in it. That's been the battle I've been having with some Bills fans and some others.
Especially coming from a Jim Schwartz team. You know,
I totally think it's his scheme, and he's trying to just plug the guys he has
he's stubborn.
into it.
You think he's stubborn? Because that's what I'm believing that he might be a little stubborn.
He is. No, he definitely is. And I'm sorry. I mean, having coached a little bit and played, if I'm going to get fired, I'm going to get fired doing what I do best. I don't blame him, but I do think, especially when it comes to the secondary, he does need to it's not that he doesn't want them doesn't want them at press. I think it's just, like I said, he's had to adjust. Thurman and him had to adjust because they've been getting beat deep. So I think he does, because, I mean, he's always been that guy. He's always had those press corners, and I think he wants to do that, but they're struggling mentally. They're struggling physically at the catch point down the field. So he does have to, kind of loosen the reins a little bit and give his corner some help over the top so that he can have these corners excel in these short, at like a line of scrimmage and whatnot. And you'll see on this play, Corey White obviously started this game for Darby, and this is the deepest pass he gave up this game. But again, it's one of those plays he diagnosed, and look at him plant. There's no wasted footwork here.
I like that.
He gives it up. He gives up almost the first down, but still, it's one of those things. He's keeping everything in front of him. He can play off, and he can play up tight, and I think he'll do quite well this week. I mean, he's going to be facing some really big competition, obviously. But again,
we're on the road, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be a tough one.
I'm kind of interested to see, would they, put Darby in the slot, with Corey and Gilmer on the outside? Is that something they would do, Eric, do you think?
I had that question asked to me today, actually. And, I've thought about it. And do I think he can play the slot? Yes. Would I put him there now? No. Why? Mental confidence. His confidence right now is shot, man. And he's having, if you saw from the clips, he's struggling reading the release of the route, whether he's in press or man, he's getting his hips turned around. So when you put a guy in the slot, what does that give that receiver? A two-way go. You don't want to give that to Darby right now with where his mental state is.
You nailed it, because right now he's struggling with having a boundary, for crying out loud. And you want to give him the whole interior side of the field? Nah, it doesn't work. It doesn't quite work that way. Right. And don't forget, Kevon Seymour is going to be getting some playing time as well. So that should be interesting on its own merit. Right,
and that's actually where we're going to go next, because the other news of the day was that, that Rex opened the competition at the slot corner position. And, of course, that puts Kevon Seymour in the slot versus a really good rookie wide receiver in Tyler Boyd. He's in the slot 90% of the snaps. He's got 26 receptions from that spot. And, again, another 6'2" receiver. And I could see why Rex took Roby Coleman out this week, with his lack of height, and put the 6-footer Seymour into the lineup. Whether they start or not, that's to be seen. But I like Seymour coming out. Why? Because he's a man cover corner. He's very similar to like Corey White's technique, where he can mirror receivers. He's not the most physical, and he's probably not as good a tackler as Corey White, like Rico said, is. So that's a matchup that I'm excited about this week. What do you guys say?
Listen, I'm excited. You know what? Normally a shakeup like this, I mean, I've read something that a shakeup like this, how could you do this in the middle of the season? This is not the quarterback position. This is not a head coaching position. This is DBs. It should be interchangeable. So don't even give me that. How could you do this late in the season? I'm actually excited because Kevon Seymour was making noise in the offseason.
Right.
I mean, you got starters, you got guys that are second, third year, fourth year, so you got to give them the opportunity to start. But you're struggling, so you got to put in the young guns, man, and see what they got. Sink or swim. I like it.
And he's been known to make plays on the ball, and I keep going back to that. And he's got big time speed too, and he's a big corner, so he brings a lot to the table. He brings, like you said, he's got ball skills. He's a big corner, and he's got speed. So I like that combination.
I like it a lot.
He and you nailed it, John, because he had, when I was scouting him when we drafted him, he had very similar statistics with the 3 cone and whatnot, or the 40 and whatnot, to Darby.
Okay.
You know, he had very similar stats, and I'm trying to bring it up right now, and it's not.
And he's what, 2-3 inches taller?
Right.
So that says a lot, man. I mean, the guy that I don't know, what was his 3-cone? Was it?
You know what? Kevin Seymour's not that big, man. Kevin Seymour's 5'11", 186 pounds.
They have him 6 foot at the combine. Either way, yeah, you're right.
They like to give you that an inch or two.
No, I do like him matched up versus Boyd. Boyd isn't the fastest, receiver. He's more of a possession type receiver, but he's for a young guy. He has really good route running ability, and of course that length to give his quarterback a good window to throw to. Let me see.
And you know what? And knowing what he did in college, it tells me that he's close and ready to make play. Because right now in his senior year, he had 13 pass breakups.
Right.
In 8 games, college games? I don't know if I follow the American
11
games.
or so.
8 games is it? 11?
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies.
Right.
So with 14 breakups, that's telling me that he's either close to making plays or he's near the receiver.
Right.
And right now he paired with Adoree Jackson as one of the top corner duos in the league in college. So I like this move of him getting in there. So be on the lookout for some special things going on, man. This could be the resurgence that we need going forward, because right now, like I've been saying, man, we are on life support.
Think about it, fellas. Like last time we had a shakeup this season, what happened?
Right? Yeah, we know what happened, baby.
We went on a streak there.
So, right, and I was off of, I would say, a mini bye week because we came off a Thursday night. Fired Roman, shook it up, went on a 4-game little streak. Right now, it's the defensive side to get shook up a little bit. Shake it up. We got a little bye week that we're coming off of. Let's go on another little run right here, and we need it because we have all conference games ahead of us now. All those NFC games are done, so these games are highly important, and we need every one of them because every single team that we play here coming up is essentially fighting for their playoff lives.
Right, and Seymour, he's played 38 snaps in the slot, and according to Pro Football Focus, he's been targeted 3 times. He allowed 3 catches for 39 yards. Has a 118.8 rating, QB rating against him. But you can see, I mean, only 19 yards after the catch. So it's definitely – he's a cover guy. I don't expect him to be blitzing, like Roby Coleman would be, bringing pressure off the edge. But he does have that ability to mirror a guy going down the field. And right now, that's what we need, and that's what we need to shut down this week,
Right, and it's funny that you mentioned I'm going to play off what you just said, because right now his strengths coming out of college, what he wasn't known as a press receiver, a press corner. He was known as an off coverage corner. So right now, the trend is these receivers are running amok all over us. We need a guy that can cover downfield and hopefully make some plays for us.
Right, and one guy that's going to come up this week, and being a Notre Dame fan, I love watching this guy. He's one of the best tight ends in the league, and that's Tyler Eifert. He's only played the last 3 games. I do think that he's going to cause trouble. He didn't give us trouble last year, but I think this year he could be trouble down the field, in the middle of the field. He's played the last 3 games. He's gotten 15 targets, 12 receptions for 198 yards, averaging 16.8 yards a reception. And
wow.
And they use him similar that the way they used Sanu last year, because they like to use taller, bigger guys in the slot. In this system, to give Dalton those windows to throw to with those, bigger receivers in their catch radius. So he's taken 30% of his snaps from the slot, which is, a lot for a tight end, but it also shows his athleticism, right?
Who's covering Eifert? That's what I need to know. Is it Zach Brown? Is it going to be Corey? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be one of the safeties? Is it going to be Jerry Hughes? Because
Robert Blanton, get out
of here. Who? I can't live with that kind of life. So the thing I'm worried about with that though is if you put a Zach Brown or a Jerry Hughes on him, number one, you take away from some of the pass rush with Jerry Hughes, and then if you put Zach Brown on him, then you leave yourself vulnerable for that guy slipping out the backfield. And we got to rely on Preston Brown going sideline to sideline, which really is not his game.
That's right. You're right.
So it makes me a little nervous to see how we cover Eifert and who covers him. But that could be the difference in the game is if we can't cover Eifert and he could just be a decoy.
Right.
That could be the difference with Giovani having a huge game or something like that. So, again, back to Rico's point, tackling from our perimeter is going to be huge.
Right? And Tyler Eifert is not a small guy, man. 6'6". My gosh, this is the third tight end that we're facing that is over 6'5".
Right.
Those are the eight tight ends, man.
But he runs routes like a receiver. You'll see the I think it's the safety that's up on him, in off coverage, but he's in the slot and he just runs. I mean, it's just too smooth, and then he protects his body. You know what I mean? He's such a versatile threat. And John, you're right. If we have Zach Brown covering him down the seam or over the top, and we're committing a safety in a corner to AJ Green, who's covering Bernard under? Who's covering those checkdowns? You're right. Not Preston Brown.
Not Preston Brown, because he athletically he just can't keep up, and that's why I think a cover two is gonna be. You're gonna have to play a cover two and keep everything in front of you, because if you don't, you're gonna get killed, man. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they cover these guys.
And Dalton loves to force it to him. He wants to get the ball to him no matter what. And you'll see here, there's 3 guys on him, but he's able to squeeze it in here. You see him come right here behind the second level linebackers. I mean, there's really not much there. You know what I mean? It's a heck of a throw.
Gosh, look at that.
Behind,
throw.
I think that's Kerrigan. Behind Kerrigan, you have a trailing DB and a safety right in front of Eifert. That's really good accuracy, and he does take a little lick, but he's big. I mean, that safety falls
right.
him.
You know what? And I don't want to take away from anything. I have to say this. This is the night and day difference between a quarterback that takes chances and fits the balls in windows and the quarterback that we have now. I'm not talking quarterback. I'm just making that point. Carry on, sir.
No, you're right.
You're right.
Yeah.
At some point you got to take a shot and deliver the ball under duress.
Oh man, you're speaking my language, man.
You know,
like that. I mean, look at Dalton.
Like
a free man coming off the edge here, stands in there and takes it.
But guess what? For that result, what's the end result, Eric? Touchdown.
That's a touchdown. Yep.
And the thing is, it's like, oh, well, Tyrod doesn't turn the ball over. It's well, he don't throw the ball nowhere.
Right.
He don't throw it downfield with the rest in his face. And like, I'll take a pick or two if I know he's trying to spread the ball around and get it downfield and throw it in the seams.
You're talking the truth, baby.
I mean, I'm just that's what I'm here for, right, Eric? Because I speak the truth. Or reason I'm on the show, but it's true, man, and it's. I have to see more of that before I can buy into Tyrod long term.
Oh man, I didn't want to take it to the quarterback.
I know.
We'll make it brief. We'll stay there briefly. We'll stick with Eifert here because and who knows? Maybe Taylor will develop into. I mean, Dalton coming out didn't impress me much. Was a 2nd round pick. But he has come along quite well, but again, they've invested time and years with him, and got weapons.
Right.
We don't have weapons right now, so let's keep that in perspective too. And Eifert, but he's so nasty because he has it. He could go anywhere here. I mean that the defender, he's lost. He's flat-footed already. Dalton throws it with anticipation, and he's gonna be tough. You're right. He's gonna be a guy that they're gonna target down the seam. They're gonna spread him out. They're going to put him in a slot. They're going to move him all over because guess what? Rex Ryan and that staff wants to put Zach Brown to his side, whether it's man or zone. He's going to try to get Zach Brown on the side of Tyler Eifert no matter what. And
I think
go ahead.
I think that I think what you're going to see is you're going to see, Alexander and Shaq rushing the QB, okay? And then you're going to see Jerry spying on that running back out the backfield.
Right.
And then you're gonna have to have Zach Brown holding down, Tyler Eifert down the seams or wherever he's at. So that's what I think they should do to combat their offense. Is keep Alexander, Shaq, and Jerry on the field, using the two, Lorenzo and Shaq as the pass rushers primarily, and then obviously having Jerry sprinkled in to keep an eye on those backs coming out of the backfield, specifically Giovani, because it's almost uncovered. It's almost defensible.
Yeah.
With that type of a receiver and AJ, and then you got the guy taking the middle of the field with Eifert. There's just not enough guys on the field on defense to cover that.
You think Rex counters with having more DBs on the field than linebackers?
I think that is definitely a strategy that they're thinking about, similar to what they did with the Cardinals.
I think they're going to play that more often, only because of we just don't have cover type linebackers. I think our best cover linebacker is Zach Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Who's after him?
Right.
We got rid of Lawson. Lawson was our guy. We got rid of Lawson. So right now, I think we might see a lot of 3 safeties in the game just to kind of counter what the Bengals may try to sprinkle in on us.
Right, and that plays into the keys to the game in my opinion. Play coverage. We're not worried about their run game. If they're gonna start running the ball, then adjust to it. Play coverage, especially on early downs, because the Bengals right now, according to Football Outsiders, they're the 8th overall team on first down passes, averaging 7.34 yards. And the Bills right now in that very same down are 29th. So you need to stop the team that wants to pass on first down, because then they want to obviously have short yardage on second and third down. Stop the passing. That's the key to this game initially, especially on first down. And I did notice, a statistic that kind of popped out to me when I was looking over some of their stats, and it's a personnel grouping of 11 personnel, and where they have Gio as the lone running back, guys. And when I saw that statistic where 116 plays they've been in this formation, this grouping, they've passed it 93 times. To me, that's a tendency that you need to keep an eye on. So it plays into the point where play pass first, worry about run second. And, when you see 11 personnel with Gio in the backfield, you got to expect the pass, whether it's to him or anyone else, because it's something they've liked to do so far this season.
And not only that too, is we have some key players, key player coming back in Marcel Darius.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to shore up that defensive line. That's going to shore up that middle. So they're going to have no choice. You're not going to be able to pound the ball in the middle on us. I don't see it happening. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have to look to get creative on running the ball and spreading the ball out. So we can make them one-dimensional with the short passing here and there. Right. Take the 2 yards that you want. Take the 3 yards. We're going to get you 3 and out, and we're going to get the ball back. And we'll see how that goes.
Right. Keep everything in front of you. Like we said, we want to see our corners up. We want to see our safeties back, and we want to make them whether they get a couple deep shots or not. Okay, fine, but deter them from always going after that, because that's our weakness right now. They need to deter teams from actually throwing it deep.
And that's a team, the Cincinnati Bengals, that like to take shots early.
Yeah.
They like to get up early, and that way they can kind of control the game a little bit. So, right. You got to be ready early for a big pass to AJ. How often do you see it? 60, 70, 80-yard bomb to AJ. It's like 105,
right.
And they already got 7 on the board to AJ. So we got to make sure that early in the game we're ready for those big plays, because that's what they're looking to do.
And how demoralizing is that?
It kills you.
And the reason it's demoralizing to me, and I got to bring it back, because the quarterback that we have, he's not a fire for fire type of competitor where, you give me one, I'm going to punch you right back. Because it takes a while for Tyrod to punch. It takes him like 3 or 4 swings. That's 3-4 series. Get back together. We've already been knocked in the mouth twice.
Right. And we don't have the horses to do that on the perimeter. So that's not our game. Is to have if we're in a shootout, unfortunately that's not our game. And
I hope it doesn't.
Chips are stacked against us. So we have to control the game with our run game, of course, and and be mindful of the deep passes early and often, really.
Right. Did you see what Rashad Jennings did to the Bengals? If Rashad Jennings can run I think he rushed over 100 yards on the Bengals.
It was close.
There's no way LaShawn McCoy can't go for $150. If LaShawn's at $150, that's a W for us, and we're back in the game at 5-5.
And that's what you get.
$150 with a couple touchies though on top of that. Yeah.
So no, that's a good transition. That's a good place to start, because we don't want to get a shootout with these guys, because they have, their defense isn't ranked that well. If you can see on the screen, they give up 23 points a game. They're the 24th ranked defense. They're 17th versus the pass and 24th versus the run. So of course, that's what we need to do, right? We need to run the ball and run it a lot, because it'll also help, obviously, our defense, because that's one thing with a Rex Ryan defense. You got to have a complementary offense, and he hasn't really had that often. But this year, he's gotten a lot more out of that offense led by Anthony Lynn. So running against that 24th ranked run defense will help lessen the possessions that Cincinnati has, and it'll force them to take more shots, down the field when, maybe they're not going to complete it at such a high percentage. So it'll just magnify what they do on offense. You know what I'm saying?
Their defense is in the bottom half of most important statistics. So we should be able to put our points up and be able to, drive the ball this week. We have to make sure that we're getting touchdowns and not field goal attempts, because that's not going to win you games long term. It is, and that's the thing. I'm sick and tired of seeing, field goal attempts. Mm-hmm. It's like we got to pound this ball. We got to take shots in the end zone. We got to draw better plays to get the ball into the end zone. And against this team, looking at they're 17th in passing, they're 4th in rush yards. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're letting up 23 yards a game or 23 points a game. We should be able to do what we want with their defense. So looking at the big picture, I do like our chances, but again, it's can we combat their big plays on offense?
And in the words of DJ Khaled, we cannot play ourselves and think that we get Carpenter lined up to kick a damn field goal and it's money in the bank. The dude is 10 for 14, 10 for 13, 10 for 14.
Yeah.
Something of that nature. So it's not even a guarantee. I'm always holding my breath.
Yeah.
We're taking a few.
Yeah. I'm holding my breath on extra points.
Oh, let me get me started on that. Funny, let's not even go there.
Honest about it.
Last year when we played the Bengals, we had EJ Manuel starting, and Shady did play, but he was still dealing with that injury a little bit. But he still rushed for 112 yards on 23 carries. So we can run on them. And from what I've seen from their linebacking crew, and even up front, they're aging. Of course, they have Geno Atkins, and he's a heck of a player. He's primarily a pass rusher. Damato Pecco, he's more of a nose tackle, so he's a space eater. So what we did last year is we kind of moved, we did a lot of misdirection, which we're good at this year as well, did some counters and stuff like that to get these guys moving, horizontally, not downhill. So I would like to see the Bills run the ball on first and second down a lot this week.
What's a key factor, Eric, and is how our offense is going to respond without our starting center in there.
Oh boy.
That Eric Wood did a lot with our run game. I mean, he had some issues in the pass protection this year, and I think that's been noted. But he's been pretty strong in the run, and of course he makes all the calls at the line of scrimmage. So, that you got to take that into an account. I'm not sure who's going to end up starting there. I don't know if they mentioned that or not already. You could probably
I don't think
shed some light on that.
They dropped that yet, honestly.
And they might not just do just for a pure schematics or what have you, but gamesmanship or whatnot. But that's going to be a big deal. We'll see if we can still get these holes blown open and these traps and these sweeps and all these pulling of our offensive linemen if it still is effective as it was. When E. Wood was in the game, so that's a position to look at, and hopefully we don't see a huge drop off there.
I hope we don't. And you make a valid point. And those are the minor things that we gotta pay attention to. And if we can take advantage, we're better for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and when I looked at some of the statistics on Football Outsiders and ways to attack this team. It looks like the Bengals are actually ranked 30th off of right guard. So teams are attacking them off of right guard, which works out perfectly for us. Why? Because when we run that power, you get that double team on Atkins at the point of attack, have those two linemen work to the backside linebacker, and have Richie coming around the corner. That's a play that we've succeeded at this year and last year. So to hear that we can run off guard and put a double team on Atkins, their best defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman, I do like those chances. And it looks like teams average almost 5 yards a carry off off of right guard. So that's somewhere that the Bills should attack.
I'll take that, man, all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And but to run those power runs, John, to your point, you got to have a center that can block back on that 3 technique or 2-eye technique. You got to have that guy that knows that he's got to get back and protect that backside gap. And whether it's Ryan Groy or Patrick Lewis, those guys, have been in the system, this year. So, I mean, can they execute it, though? Can they execute it and hold that backside block? Because that play, that backside block, that down block, and that gap scheme is crucial to this play succeeding.
And let me tell you something. I'm secretly rooting for Patrick Lewis, and I don't even know anything about Patrick Lewis.
Right.
Because I saw what Ryan Groy did last week when he came in.
Yeah.
Just a few plays, and a few plays is all I needed. And that's not fair to him. But there were some plays where he whiffed, and it just blew up the play.
Right.
And as my center, and it makes you feel like you took Eric Wood for granted. Because I always thought, Eric Woods, he's all right. He's okay. Yeah. I mean, we're going to find out how special he is come this week or how obsolete he is. Mm-hmm. If our run game still stays on point, well, I mean, next man up is what they usually say, right?
Right, and he's one of the higher paid centers in the league too, but I do think Bills fans do take what he does for granted, especially in this scheme because, like John said, it's a complicated scheme. And he's responsible for a lot, whether it be in pass protection or run scheme.
Yep.
So,
he's not only just purely his game, but his leadership. He gets guys hyped up. He's physical. Mm-hmm. So that's a part of the game that unless Groy or Lewis can step up, we'll miss out on that too. Is you want to stay physical up front. And you want to have that leadership role, and that's a comforting to your quarterback to have that.
Now here's the flip side. Here's the flip side. Because Eric Wood is gone, does that force? I don't want to use the word force, but does that entrust Tyrod to take even more of a leadership role? Does that make him elevate his game more? Now that Eric Wood is gone, does he now have to make the checks and see things for himself? So, I mean, man, this game of football, man, is such an intricate game. Yeah. There's so many moving pieces, man. It's just alone a center being gone changes your scheme, changes the way things are done, who's calling what. So this should be very interesting.
Right.
And definitely amplifies. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because, besides Eric Wood and calling out whatever run or pass protections, whatever, who else is vocal on there? Of course, Cordy Glenn's good, but he's not a vocal leader. He's a lead by his actions. So who else is there to lead? And of course, Tyrod should be that guy. Whether he is or isn't, I mean, we don't really know inside the huddle and whatnot, but he is. It's gonna amplify his role as a leader now that Eric Wood is gone. And guess what? When he's up near the line of scrimmage and say that center, whether it be Lewis or Groy, is having trouble calling out protections or whatever, he needs to be the one to put him in check.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Or guess what? You're getting rocked.
Yes, exactly. Or he'll be on his back.
It's his butt, right? Yeah. So he has to make sure that, those guys are lined up right and they know who's who. And
100%.
This and this might be, to Rico's point, maybe a point where Tyrod does take another step in his progression because now he doesn't have that safety valve in front of him. So he a little bit more is on his shoulders. So we'll see. Is he going to thrive or is he going to kind of sink a little bit here? And I'm interested to see how that plays out because that could be the injury for him that makes him have to take that next step. Yeah. Have to be 110% on every single player's position, which I think he pretty much is, but this is definitely going to show his true colors and where he stands on knowing the offense and where guys are supposed to be at.
Right. And Rico, I'm with you. I'm with you on Patrick Lewis. I do think he's the guy that will start, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, he's been in the league for a few years. He played most of last year as a starter with Seattle, including 2 playoff games. So,
underrated signing.
Yeah, no, it was. And it's one of those signings that, like the Alexanders and the Browns and whatnot, that not many people understood. But, it was a good thing that Whaley did it because I don't think Ryan Groy is a natural center anyways. Patrick Lewis is.
Yeah.
And that experience in the big games in a good system, with a similar type quarterback that likes to scramble and whatnot, use his legs around the pocket, having a guy like Lewis that has played in that type of system, it could help us. I mean, per Pro Football Focus, he's not graded that well career-wise. He's a negative 21.8, and all I see is red. I see a lot of red, and primarily most of that stuff is run blocking. So, but again, we're not going to ask him to do. I think Tyrod's role will increase. I think they'll keep him in situations where that it'll benefit the offense. I think you'll see a lot more of rolling, moving the pocket, extending the the pocket and whatnot with Tyrod Taylor now that he's got his main man Eric Wood gone. So that's a great point, and I'm glad you brought that up because I almost glanced right over that. But I do think using Patrick Lewis would be their best bet. He's a natural center.
Because you know what, like I mean, you have that cohesiveness that line had, because I mean for the longest time we had our 5 returning starters coming back, the same 5. So now that ruins the. I don't want to say it ruins it because it may not, but that cohesiveness that was in that
continuity,
group, yeah, I mean that's not there anymore. Look for what you mentioned something about who's the vocal leader, who's this. For some reason, I don't know why his name is coming to me, but maybe John Miller steps up because I know coming out of college he was an intelligent lineman. So maybe he comes up and becomes that vocal guy. But I mean,
that'd be nice. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but
neither have I.
Right.
And I do think because I was actually going to just mention him because that's one thing he talked about over the off season to Buffalo News, things that he was working on and whatnot. It was him understanding the game, from how the pass rusher is going to attack him, but also what the guy next to him is going to do. So now that you don't have Eric Wood next to him, how will his play suffer, or how will his play be? Because that's a bigger question, because he's been quietly probably our best offensive lineman this year.
You know what? I haven't heard much about him, and usually that's a good thing. I mean, I'll take that.
Right.
As for Jordan Mills, though,
he's in trouble this
blocking wise.
With respect to John Miller, I think as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, that's all I need from him. I think that leadership role and that's I don't know if that's something that you can just
jump in,
snap your fingers, and all of a sudden you're a vocal leader and this and that. I just don't see that with him, and that's okay. But I think he needs to lead maybe more by example now, and really, he's going to have to take control of at least his side of the line a little bit more now that E. Wood's gone. And I like, this can only help these guys out in a sense of mental development. So I'm interested to see how this plays out for the O-line because, like you said, Rico, we had the cohesiveness of the 5 offensive linemen for the entire season, and then John Gruden jinxed us last week. I don't know if you caught that or not, but he jinxed us all game last week. Everything he said, he was like, that happens. These guys have been together all year. Boom, he would get hurt, breaks his leg. So hopefully he won't be doing any more of our games. But seriously though, this should be good for our offensive linemen's mental, development. Richie Incognito can step into that leadership vocal role. He's used to that. He's physical. He's got the experience. So, I think we're going to lean on him a little bit for that particular role now. So we'll see how that plays out.
We'll definitely see how that goes out. I like that.
Right, and I mean, where we should attack him, of course we should attack him on the ground, but I mean, a name that comes up every single week with this team that, high-priced player, our tight end, Charles Clay, I mean, is this the week he breaks out, honestly? Because, like, last year,
no.
Bring up the stat. You don't think he's going to break out this week?
I just don't think he's going to break out.
Is it his fault? Is it his fault, or is it Tyrod's fault?
It's both. I mean, there's a lot of factors.
I just think it's the scheme. I think it's the scheme. I don't think we're designing enough plays around him. I think a lot of it has to do with Tyrod. But again, we don't need him to be a world burner. No. I just want to see him get those 6 to 8 yard turnarounds for those, first downs, and I'm not even seeing that.
You know what?
Like,
this is what.
Why are you paying $40 million for? What are you paying? You're paying $40 million for a guy. What is he's getting? He's getting 3 yards.
Right.
Or 3 catches for 26 yards a game, or what have you,
right?
For $40 million.
So
listen, I can have Larry Donnell do that for me for $450,000.
Listen, we have that guy in O'Leary doing that bullshit. Now, but here's the thing: you said that we don't need him to be a world beater. We do need him to be a world beater because that's why we paid him $40 million to do it.
No, I agree. I agree with
right
that.
now, especially though. Right now, even more so. And
because your boy Sammy Watkins is out.
Yeah.
You had Robert Woods that's still not 100%, but I mean the way he played last week was amazing. So Charles Clay, either you open your mouth and say, "Hey, I'm right here," or pull your quarterback aside and say, "Yo, I like you, but I'm 6'5", 6'4". Yo, you better start giving me the damn ball so I can make things happen. Like, come on, man. Like, you're getting me fired up right now. It's a little late for me to get fired up.
No, you're right. We need to get him the ball. And what's crazy is, when EJ was in last year versus the Bengals, who was the number one target? Charles Clay. Charles Clay was targeted 13 times in the Bengals game last year. He caught 9 for 62 yards. So,
do you want to know who EJ goes after? Who EJ targets when he's in the game? Who his main guy he goes after?
Who's that?
Robert Woods.
Robert Woods,
loves Robert Woods.
Right,
that's his boy.
Rub some of that off onto to Tyrod, because whatever that happened, that connection they had with each other last week was amazing. If they keep that up,
no, you're right.
Had that career game last week.
Oh
sure.
man!
Oh, you sure did, and we're gonna cover that real quick. I know we're running short on time, but one thing I did see, the Bengals defense, as you guys know, is they play a lot of cover 2 shell, so they don't really blitz that often. They'll rush 4. But one thing that opened up last week, and you'll see this is why I think Charles Clay could have a good game is, they're very bad versus tight ends, and you see a little play action here. What happens to these linebackers? That little fake brings those linebackers up. And who sneaks in right behind him? The tight end. I think that's Will Todd. So, I mean, those kind of plays will be there, especially if we get our run game going like, we should be able to. Here's just another tight camera angle look of it. But you just watch how the linebackers they just flow downhill, and that's just easy behind Burfict, So I think Charles Clay
and you know what?
this week.
And you know what? There's more to be feared in LaShawn McCoy than a Rashad Jennings. So be prepared to have that happen often.
Like I said, I don't have any doubt that our offense will be able to, produce this week. That to me is not a question, because their defense to me, like I said, it's in the bottom half of almost every major statistical stat category. So we should be fine on offense. Again, the thing that does worry me, though, is, again, the center position and how we respond. Is our run game going to be the same? Are we going to be able to make the calls on the protections the same? Those are the things that we're going to have to look at to make if our offense does end up being successful. So we'll see. But I still think our offense will be just fine this week. I have no doubt that we'll score at least 25 points this week.
I do too.
Well, and if we score 25 points, that means we win this. Oh, that's a lie.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You know that stat too. The last 3 games, we put up 25 points and lost.
Right. I stayed away from that.
So we need to put up like 30 this week. Let's
step it
shoot
up,
for 30. Absolutely.
It's a similar play here too, because you'll see them. They'll fake it. Get the guard action, and of course these inside backers are reading the guard, so you see them, of course, jump that play action pass, and that's Boom Heron. That's not even Shady. So you throw Shady in there, you don't think these guys are gonna be fast flowing?
You're damn right, Will.
So that's definitely.
The way Shady reads fields, he'll be cutting back. He'll be cutting back, no problem.
Right. I could see Clay break out this game, and you'll see here, Vinny Ray is a guy they need to target. You see the exchange here with the tight end. He'll motion here in the backfield, and so this is man coverage. Vinny Ray versus their tight end Adams, and he just leaves them in the dust. And so their linebacking core, although they're good tacklers, they're more downhill type players. They're not guys that are good in space really. You'll see Vinny Ray here, who I really like. He bites hard on this, and Charles Clay is better than I think that's Jernell Adams, or he's a rookie, I believe. But it's a matchup that the Bills should look to exploit, whether it be from the backfield or, at the tight end on the line of scrimmage. But it's something, I looked at the Cowboys tape primarily because they run, they have a mobile quarterback who's kind of inexperienced, and see how they utilize their offense versus this cover 2 shell. And see Witten, he's a guy that, he can read these option routes. He sees Vinny Ray playing him over the top, so he's just going to sit in that zone and bring it in for his young quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
So, and you know what? You look at the film from last year, fast forward this, you look at the film from last year, and you'll see, okay, we got Charles Clay. We're in a 2-by-2 formation with the ball on the left hash, and Charles Clay to the boundary. And you'll see, what does he do? He sits right in that little window versus who? Vinny Ray. So we ran very similar things that have worked this year versus that, versus this defense, the Bengals defense. We've run similar things last year that have been working for offenses so far in 2016. So I do think that Anthony Lynn will see this, and that's almost the same exact play. You know what I mean? The same exact defense.
Yep. And you know what? You just mentioned Anthony Lynn. I think Anthony Lynn called a masterful game last week with the amount of offensive plays that he's calling, and whatever pep talk he gave Tyrod, that needs to come out again. So he's gonna, if he wants to make a name for himself as an offensive coordinator, let alone a head coach, this has got to continue. Like from last week's game going forward, call a game and get you guys involved. You got Robert Woods involved with 10 catches, 162 yards. Get your tight end involved, man. $40 million a year. Come on now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And we talked about this before, is Robert Woods had probably his best game of his career, but why?
Yes.
Because they operated him out of the slot. He was in the slot 71% of the time. And
was he?
Yes, 71%. That was higher than all year. It's been the highest in his whole career. So I think, and that was, like I said, it was a perfect time for a bye, not just for our secondary, but for Anthony Lynn to self-scout the offense and say, guess what? We excelled last week versus a really good defense by having Robert Woods in the slot. And so why? Because he was able to read the defense and run those option routes, and that's what he's good at. He's a route runner. He's not a guy that's going to burn down the field. So put him in that position again, and I think that's something that I hope that Anthony Lynn saw and starts to utilize that more, because we know everyone knows he's a slot receiver. Why use him outside? I don't care who's outside. If he can give me the game that he did from the slot versus that defense every week, why would you move him anywhere else?
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially
works.
Exactly, especially versus the Bengals pass defense this week. I mean, they've given up 19 touchdowns. That's the fourth most. So if there's any week, like we were talking about, Tyrod having to step it up and pass, I think that balance could be there for the offense. Get the ball down the field. They're 27th in the red zone passing. So, I mean, Tyrod, he's probably going to have to, they're going to tighten up in the red zone. He's probably going to have to throw a couple touchdowns for the Bills to win this week.
Listen, I'm with you on that, man, and I share your sentiments. We need that.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it up here. I'm gonna throw up the keys to this game, and you guys can add your keys as we go along. Again, I think they need to utilize Charles Clay, the tight end, because this defense allows 72 yards a game to the tight end. It's one of the worst in the league. They're one of the worst in the league against tight ends. So it's an area that the Bills should look to exploit. He did, decent last year versus them. And, of course, Robert Woods, we just covered, put him in the slot, but also he played pretty well last year versus Kirkpatrick. And, he only caught 3 for 39 yards. But those two guys, I think, for the passing game, those are the guys you have to stress week in and week out without Sammy, right, guys?
You're 100%. And the one player that we were scoffing at, and we haven't even mentioned him all night, and I can assure you he's going to play a lot in this game, is Percy Harvin.
Mm-hmm.
We just brought Percy Harvin back.
You're right.
I expect big things for Percy Harvin in this game.
It's a great point, man. I totally glanced over that. Yeah, if we're going to attack a team deep, against these guys, which they're not good at defending the deep pass, Percy Harvin should be, one of the main threats in that scheme. So,
and I think that's going to be a major key.
Right, and take those deep shots early, because that they're going to commit guys to the box to stop the run. They know that we're good on first and second down. We're top 5 in first and second down effectiveness and running the ball. And so they're gonna drop that safety down late and try to stop the run. So that should give you that single high look, which they don't show off. It'll give you that look. So why not hit it deep over the top, on early downs with Percy Harvin and even Charles Clay for that matter. He can.
Listen, man, we got Goodwin, we got Percy Harvin. Put my man Robert Woods in the slot. Listen, man, we got some weapons, man.
Yeah, I do like this game. I think it's still going to be a tough matchup and whatnot. But I do think it's a winnable game, and you know what? They have to if they plan on even smelling the playoffs.
Absolutely, and I mean, the two safeties that they have in it too. I mean, we got Pac-Man Jones and you got Kirkpatrick. Listen, man, this is Ray Maluga. This is perfect. I mean, they don't have a slouch of a defense. And Marvin Lewis, excuse me,
yep.
Defensive coordinator, man. Like that's what he does is defense. And let's not forget, people think that Rex Ryan was the defensive coordinator, the defensive guru when the Ravens won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
That was Marvin Lewis running the show. Rex Ryan was just defensive lines coach.
Right.
So, thank you.
Lewis is a smart man. So.
I knew John would like that because he always mentions that to me when we start talking about Rex.
What's that?
It was be honest with you.
You're kind of breaking up, John.
You're breaking up a little bit.
My computer's on fire. I think it's overheating. But you guys there? You guys can hear me?
Yeah. What's up? What'd you say?
All right. No, it's basically with the Rex Ryan thing, man. Like, to me, he hasn't done enough to warrant this kind of appraisal. As far as he's done this, he's done that, but he's backed into the playoffs twice with the Jets. He won Super Bowl as a quality control coach with Ravens. So I'm not gonna hate on him because this is not the time or the place. But
we'll save that for later for sure.
We'll save that for the off season that starts usually week 17.
Oh.
But let me stop.
No, hey guys, this was awesome, man. We're gonna have to do this again. Rico, thanks for coming on. Go ahead and tell where people can find you, brother.
Listen, man, you guys can find me on Twitter. I'm really getting more involved in Twitter. I didn't really used to mess with Twitter, but you can find me at WoodleyB9 at Twitter. Hit me up in the Facebook group Bills Fanatics. It's a closed group. Just come on in, and we got Instagram at the Bills Fanatics, and go to our page, BillsFanaticsBF.com. You guys, you can shut it out, man. So it's a great page, great football content. Come check us out.
Yeah, they got everything there, and they're great people. One of the reasons I wanted to join the Fanatics is because they know football, but they're also they participate a lot. A lot of fan groups, they'll just throw out something out there just to get discussion going. But no, these guys, Rico, Pierre, and Bobby, those guys they're interactive. They start the discussion, but guess what? They're gonna back it up too. So Rico, again, thanks for coming on. John, we'll talk soon. Guys, we'll do this again. You guys take care. All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.